is really a major thing. I don't know if anyone's looked at it here, but what we have here is the point of this celebration is that we have shipped our 1 millionth quick point, 1 million products to the actual Department of Defense. We did that in 3 years, and that's an amazing achievement. Everyone here has played a role in that at different levels, more directly than indirectly. Within the company, we all know who we are. We've had our Christmas dinners and talked about what everyone does, but this is an opportunity to bring in the larger community, people that have had roles beyond what some of you know about. And I want everyone to just know the different roles people have played. I want to start by saying that Dave and I have this kind of ongoing, it's a little bit of a joke, but it might become a reality, that we're very close to the waterfront. So we thought, how cool would it be to get a small boat someday, and we could have this boat for clients and customers, and maybe fun for us on weekends and employees and stuff, and it'd be neat. We thought we would call the boat the SS Quick Point. I've always heard the SS, and I don't know if the SS actually means something, but I thought about it.
Steamship.
Steamship. Oh. Well, I thought it might stand for service and synchronicity. And I thought those two words, service and synchronicity, really do describe a lot of what our company is about. And clearly, the essence of QuickPoint is providing a service. It allows communication, which is a service, in many different situations, but in the United States military, in some very powerful situations. And synchronicity, I'm guessing most people have heard the word, but I think it's actually originally a Jungian term, but I believe it's defined as meaningful coincidences, things that happen by chance, but that seem to have actual meaning. And so I'm going to kind of give a little bit of a history of the company and a little bit of my personal history, which some of you may have not heard before, and kind of use this to explain how some of the people in this room play a part of that history and the history of what's happening today. And we've got a few little things to give out just to commemorate people's contributions. Let me start by saying that some of you may or may not know that I have a history of struggling with weight issues, that I was 300 plus pounds when I was in my early 20s. And you've probably seen some pictures on the walls that I was quite heavy. And I use exercise as my main way to control my weight. And as you know, I've ridden a bicycle literally around the world. And the reason I chose bicycle is I thought it would be a good way to finish losing my weight. Because when I left, I weighed about 240 pounds, and I thought after a 15,000-mile bike ride, I'd be likely to weigh a little bit less. But to my chagrin, I actually came back weighing 270 pounds. Just goes to say that
Power of food.
Power of food over the power of peddling. But by the grace of God, I'm not that way today. And that's because after coming back, I actually got involved in some self-help groups to help me manage my weight. But what I want to talk about first is a person here that has played a very key role in my life. You've probably not heard the name come up because he's not part of the company and isn't part of the various business aspects of it. But the company was actually started on November 30th, 1989. And I say the date November 30th, 89 because it's so interesting that our last shipment that broke the million mark was shipped on November 30th, 2005. So it's actually 16 years to the day from when the company started to when the millionth QuickPoint was shipped. It's just sort of an interesting synchronicity, but there's more. But in any case, when I came back well, I'll tell you a little bit about how I started this company. I didn't have a whole lot of money, I just had this idea. But I did have credit cards. And I had a lot of credit cards. And you know how you get these credit cards in the mail? And they say, like check here, and they send them to you? Well, every time I got one of those, I kept it. And I just signed my little piece of paper and go, oh, I've got a $5,000 line and a $10,000 line. And by the end, I had a $100,000 line of credit cards spread across these 22 different cards from every bank in the country. And I was like, wow, I got a $100,000 credit line. Now, of course, the thing about credit cards, these ones, is that you have to pay back your interest immediately, back then at about 21% interest. But I didn't care because I was very much an optimist. And I thought that I was going to print 100,000 QuickPoint. And back then, they sold in bookstores for about $4, which meant I sold them to the bookstores for about $2. And I thought, I'm going to print 100,000 QuickPoint, sell them, get $200,000, and start a positive cash flow, and I'll be off to the races. And so I went ahead and did that. And I went about $60,000 into my credit card line, and it was the point where I was I was cash advancing each month to make the monthly payment from the credit card before, and each one hit a limit, and I'd go activate the next one, and the next one, and I had them all organized, you know, in a spreadsheet and everything. Those who know me, that's kind of life by spreadsheet. That's a book I'm going to write someday. But in any case, I went ahead and started to get a little concerned when I was at the $60,000 mark, and I'd only sold 300 quick points. And at the same time, I started to get so concerned that I got a little bit hungry and started eating again, and managed to gain about 30 pounds a month. And I got really concerned, as did a number of my friends, and I actually did something, you've heard of like these rehabs for alcohol and drugs. I actually have rehabs for people that eat too much. They call them food treatment centers. And I spent a month in a food treatment center, literally a month after the first Quick Point printed, which was the summer of '91. And at this point, I was getting pretty concerned because I spent literally a month in this facility, and I came back to the area. And at this point, I had literally no job, this business that was literally going to earn $800 the first year, $60,000 worth of credit card bills. And at this point, some of the creditors were starting to get a little annoyed at the rate that I was paying them back. And they started to knock on my door and call me, to the point where literally at its worst, I once had a notice on my door from the Sheriff's Department of Alexandria saying that if I did not pay a credit card back by a certain date, they would issue a warrant for my arrest. And literally, I saved that piece of paper because that's how kind of tight it got. So I was getting a little nervous. Well, in any case, when I came back out of this eating disorder treatment center, I got to meet Phil Cullen, who's sitting here in the back. And Phil actually shares my challenge of having weighed a lot and having managed to keep it off. And Phil became a very close friend of mine, and we bonded. We've been dearly close for the last 14 years. And Phil very much has really been an anchor of helping me, among other things, stay at this weight, if nothing more, but really much, much more. And he has just been kind of a bedrock of the grounding I need as a person to do what I'm doing in the world, and to do it at this weight. So I want to start by giving Phil, we have these nice little globes here, that'll come up. And here it's a little globe that says Quick Point. Thank you for helping the world. Thank you for helping the world communicate with Quick Point. And you have done that, Phil, more than you will ever know.
I could just say one thing, is that the only way you maintain this ability, I've learned, is by giving it away. So anything that he thinks I gave to him, he gave me. And that's the way we go.
Now a little more about the credit cards, because that got kind of more interesting. So I came back from this treatment center and started getting back in shape in terms of physically getting my weight, but I now had to face the fact that I had this huge debt and a business that obviously was moving very slowly, and no job, and no savings in the bank, and that's just not the best place to be in. And so I decided, I'm a big believer in asking for help. Those who know me know I'm just a big believer, and I learned that there were self-help groups for people who had problems with money. So I went to a self-help group, and I explained to them, I've got this system, I've got 4 more credit cards left, another $40,000, and I was just going to cash advance it. And they disagreed with that system. And they actually said to me, we think you should throw away all your credit cards and not use credit card finance, and just kind of have some faith and trust that things will work out. Well, that was easy for this couple of people to say, but I had a rent check to, zero in the bank, and $60,000 worth of credit card debt that with people knocking on my door for it. But I decided to just have a little faith and trust that things would be okay. Well, that day after I came home from my first meeting like this, there was a message from me on my telephone. And it was for somebody who I basically never met before, but I knew this man was overweight. And I figured he was calling to ask me how I lost weight. And so I decided to just call him. I'm thinking, you know what? I don't know a whole lot about how to deal with my financial issues, but I did just have 30 days of advice at this little treatment center on how to handle weight. And so I thought, you know what? When all else fails, see if you can help somebody else. Because I was pretty much in a panic. I went home in tears that night, tearing up my credit cards, not knowing where my rent was going to be paid. my only thought was that QuickPoint was developed on a Macintosh. And I learned a lot about Macintoshes, desktop publishing and graphics. I thought to myself, if I could get a job maybe being a Macintosh teacher, maybe that would be a way I could make some money in the interim. So in any case, I called back this guy, assuming he wanted to know about my food and my eating because he was a heavy-set guy. But it turns out that wasn't why I was calling at all. He had heard me mention something about my business, and we just started to talk. And it turned out this guy was a computer trainer for Wang Laboratories, right, which used to be in Roswell. And Wang Laboratories had decided that they were going to open up a Macintosh training facility, one of the first ones in the area back then. And to make a long story short, 2 days later, I had a part-time job as a freelance Macintosh trainer, was able to make my rent that month, and able to continue to sustain myself. But literally, it was like that down to the wire. But it was pretty amazing, literally coming home from this meeting, here comes on my voicemail a message that led me to being a Macintosh trainer, which was the suggestion made to me at that meeting. Have a little faith, try to become a Macintosh trainer, and come home. It was one of the first synchronicities that I'll point out. In any case, kind of moving along, some of you may know that QuickPoint used to be spelled with a Q. It was Q-U-I-C-K. Now it's K-W-I-K. And there's actually a reason for that. There's another company out there with the name QuickPoint that actually makes little keychain devices and little pointers and things. And they sell these pointers to travel agents. And they decided that there could be confusion in the marketplace between my QuickPoint and their QuickPoint. I didn't think there would, but they did, and they were a much bigger company than I was. They had lawyers, and I didn't have any lawyers, not by marriage, not by anything. I was going to need lawyers for other reasons with my finances. So in any case, we made out this agreement that we would keep the phonetic name QuickPoint and change the spelling to K-W-I-K. And they were fine with that. And I said, by the way, though, I've got 100,000 QuickPoint printed with the KW sitting in my home in boxes. I actually converted it to furniture. I would put tapestries over it, and they wanted to take it over to my desk, and my house was decorated by boxes of QuickPoint with tarps over them. That's how I lived back then. And so I went ahead and made this agreement, but they said that, we need to set a date. We can't just have you selling these QU QuickPoints forever. So they set a particular date, and that date was actually in early 1996. And so I literally got within a few weeks of the deadline and still had 70,000 QuickPoint left, excuse me, 60,000. So if you do your math, that means the first 5 years I sold 40,000 QuickPoint at $2 each, which means the first 5 years I brought in about $80,000 in 5 years, which is not a whole lot, but I had this part-time job teaching Macintosh, so it went along. Well, in any case, I had to think fast about what I was going to do with these 60,000, 70,000 QuickPoint. And what came to mind was the United States military. I had actually sold small numbers, not the military QuickPoint, but the regular one, just to help soldiers who were traveling. And interestingly enough, Scott Whitney, who's here today, we'll talk in a little bit, had been one of the people that purchased one of those original travel QuickPoints. And it was years later that we were going to come to even connect on this, but he happened to purchase one of those. So in any case, I knocked on the military's door and said, how would you like to buy 60,000 QuickPoint at a very good price? Because I had about a week or two before they were technically illegal, and I'd have to make them landfill or violate an agreement with this company that had lawyers. And I didn't want to do that. So to my amazement, the military said, sure, we love a good deal. And we sold it off at fire sale prices, but enough to completely sell out my inventory, give me enough to reprint it with the KW spelling, and give me enough of a nest egg that I was able to quit my Macintosh job and start full-time. So in January '96, with the military sale, I went full-time. I had about $40,000 or $50,000 plus my printing, and that was enough to say, I'm going to go for it. I can live on this for a long, living kind of on the low back then. So $50,000 was like 3 years living expenses. So I was literally renting a room in a basement in a group house, and my rent was $300 a month, and so I didn't eat much back then. I was watching my weight. So in any case, kind of just moving along, in September of 2001, we were pretty much completely geared up to sell and travel. And we were actually making a lot of progress, and we were starting to really look like we could get traction in the travel market. And then, as you all know, on September 11th, 2001, 9/11 happened. And among all the disasters that you know about, it also devastated the international travel industry. anyone who was getting ready to travel to Europe or Asia pretty much stopped, and the whole travel market collapsed. And at this point, I was really making inroads. I'd gotten United Airlines and American Airlines and MasterCard and some major companies really working with me, and they stopped answering the phones after that. As you know, United Airlines almost went under, as did American Airlines and other companies. And I thought, wow, it's over again. And I really thought this was it. And then 16 days later, and it's funny that it's 16 days because it was also 16 years from the first quick point to the millionth military, I got this email here from Scott Whitney, who's sitting here. I'm just going to read this email from Scott. This is a 5-year-old email. Gentlemen, as the language program coordinator for MARFOR-PAC, which is Marine Forces Pacific, we are very interested in your product. I will attempt to call and discuss the possibility of customizing a passport-sized quick point and ordering in bulk. And so this is, that email from 16 days after 9/11. And make a long story short on that end, 120 emails later, 12 months, and I counted it
Countless
this morning.
phone calls.
Countless phone calls. I think Scott had no idea what a persistent follower. He's like, get an idea. We were going to make this idea happen. And contracting officers and calls and research money from laser ACTDs and experimentation centers and learning all about this. We got our first sale of this quick point that's now framed here. And I believe we produced 1,000 of them for maybe $8,000 or $10,000 or something like that. And we had our first military quick point. And with that, what I'd like to do is give Scott an opportunity to talk a little bit about, he actually not only ordered the first quick point, but also has used it. And we, about a month ago, through, again, some synchronicity, just again, one of my people was at who doesn't work here anymore, was at a conference in some place, was it Virginia Beach? Remember where?
It's Quantico.
Quantico.
Force Protection Exposition.
That's right. And Scott just walks by the little quick point booth and says, I know you guys. I think I ordered your first product. And he left his business card, which got trickled back to me, and it sat in my pile of things that were like, I should call this guy up and thank him pile. And it sat there for about a year, till Dave came on, and I said, Dave, help me, I'm swamped with things to do. And Dave said, oh, let's call this guy, we should at least take him out for dinner. And about 3 or 4 weeks ago or so, we had dinner. And with that, Scott told me some interesting stories, so I wanted to give Scott a chance to come up and talk about it.
Thank you. I think I was one of the purchasers right here at Reagan National Airport at one of those first of the 40,000, and I had an opportunity to use it in my travels. Being a Marine, I was deployed constantly around the world, traveling to far-off foreign lands, and I speak probably enough to be polite about 12 languages. That's hello, goodbye, thank you, how do I get here, directions, maybe ordering food. But the Quick Point Travel Aid really helped me in my functions out on the ground. Well, I deployed into East Timor as the second American to go in with the Australians. You may recall in the news that the Indonesian government in this breakaway province of East Timor went in and harassed the citizens and eventually burnt down the UN compound. When that occurred, the international force, primarily led by the Australians, augmented by U.S. service members, deployed into East Timor. And I was what was known as the Task Force Counterintelligence Coordinating Authority. And in part of my role, we helped provide force protection support to all of the forces that were on the ground. Part of that role also involved ensuring the safety of the populace that we were there to protect. And we went into one of the villages, and one of the village elders, who had grown up in the mountains, was never formally educated, spoke Tetum. The challenge that we had was finding Bahasa linguists that spoke Indonesian, let alone tribal linguists that would be able to speak English and translate for us in Tetum. And after much pointing, drawing sticks and pictures on the dirt, using the quick point, we determined that a group of Indonesian special forces, about 12 individuals, were hiding up in the mountains and coming down and hiding freely in civilian clothes in and amongst the populace. And at night, they would go up to a weapons cache in the mountains in this valley. They would get their weapons and they would come in and wreak havoc in these villages. And due to this conversation and this very valuable tool that Alan helped create, I was able to determine where the location was of the weapons cache, and we deployed a company of Gurkhas, British Gurkhas led by British officers, little Nepalese Sherpas that would carry Sir Edmund Hillary to up Mount Everest. Well, they actually have a regiment in the British forces of these troops, and they're very tenacious and they're very aggressive soldiers. They went in and put in an ambush and basically decimated this organization that was creating hate and discontent. And the real impact that we had was this village was now safe from the harassment of these people, and enabled us to start the nation building that took almost a year and created its own independent company, independent country, known as Timor-Leste now. As a result of that, I came back and said, you know, it'd be really neat if we had one of these that had military icons on it. We used to make some of these tools on our own, and using linguists and handwritten copies, and we heat seal, laminate them so the guys could keep them in their uniform and they wouldn't fall apart. I said, well, you know, this is a great tool. If we had one that had a bomb and maybe a gun and a helicopter and an airplane, and we could turn around and have, instead of having to wait for a linguist to show up that are a low density, high value asset, we could turn around and give these to the soldiers that are on the ground and say, use these for the initial screening of an individual, just to find out if in fact he had something valuable to say that warranted taking that linguist and applying him to that individual. If not, we would turn around and say, oh, well, thanks for, appreciate talking to you, thanks for your time, and we'd go on to the next individual. And using these tools, it became extremely valuable, where we would find, wait a minute, this guy is the goose that laid the golden egg. He warrants putting that attention of that low-density asset to work in exploiting the information that he has. The biggest thing that I wanted to talk about today is the impact that this has had. And you'll see in some of the videos that are played how these tools are saving people's lives. Well, they're not just saving onesies and twosies. 1 million of these are deployed around the world, not just in Iraq, not just in Afghanistan. And they're being utilized by service members every day, and they're saving people's lives. And I just want to commend you for all the help and the effort that you have.
Those of you who've seen this video before,
the visual translator was helpful to us during our deployment in Iraq last year. People were coming to us and telling us that there was a potential ambush that was going to happen at a certain time and place, but we didn't understand what they were saying. So the graphic training aid assisted us in actually communicating from us to them and back to prevent accidents and incidents from happening, and to also allow us to investigate claims by the Iraqi citizens of things that were going on inside their neighborhoods. And it helped us a lot during our deployment. I think it did save some lives, both soldiers and Iraqi citizens, by allowing the Iraqi citizens to communicate to us potential hazards.
Well, if we hadn't had QuickPoint, we wouldn't have been able to drop all our initial safeties that we take when we go down range. When the locals would report an improvised explosive device, just various models of pictures narrowed it down to as to what we had, so we had a better clue before we approached it.
Another time we'd used a QuickPoint, some locals had shown us the picture in a QuickPoint pamphlet of a weapons cache in the lake. Using the QuickPoint, we were able to determine where bombers were hiding, where snipers were hiding. We were determining how many people were in an attack group, where the attack group headed to. I believe that the QuickPoint is mission essential because it helped us communicate with the locals, it helped us to save lives, it helped us find weapons caches, identify where IEDs were, it helped us communicate with detainees, and it just made everyday life easier in Iraq.
last soldier here is Corporal Collins. It's actually, again, kind of an interesting story how we met him. We had our company holiday dinner, not this past December, but the December before, and a woman who was doing some freelance stuff with us, our website, mentioned that she had a cousin who was an Iraq vet who was wounded at Walter Reed. And she just went out there to visit him. She barely met this cousin before, but since it was a local family and he was in town, she went out to, be helpful. And she says, by the way, have you ever heard of this thing called QuickPoint? And he said, heard of it? I use that every day. And he went on, and it turned out not only did he use it every day, but he had a first-hand story how he saved a little girl's life. A little 6, 7-year-old girl had actually swallowed gasoline and he was able to get her medical help. I'm just going to play another 60-second clip of this man's story. And I can tell you, we learned that at our holiday party last year, December '04. To me, that was like the gift our company got. You know what I mean? Just to know that all this work, we know in some abstract sense how many we sell, but to hear firsthand there's a child that was helped by this. So, yeah. We have a bunch of them.
We had set up a traffic control point, and a man had come running up toward us from the back of the line, and he was just running at us yelling hospital. We used the quick point to ask him questions of why he needed a hospital. And using the quick point, he pointed to a picture of a gas pump and to a picture of a little girl and made the drink symbol to us. And when he had done that, we determined that the little girl had drank gasoline. When we got to the car, we had looked in, and the little girl was laying in the back seat with her head on her mother's lap. Her skin was pale and clammy. Her eyes were glazed over. She wasn't moving. She looked to be 5 or 6 years old. And by the way she looked, we determined that she did drink gasoline. I believe that using the quick point to find out exactly what had happened saved his little girl's life.
So, pretty amazing what this is really making a difference in the world. And obviously, this is my vision, this is what I do, but I can't tell you, I think what drives me more than anything is just knowing, making a difference. There's something really powerful at a core level of knowing that we're making a difference in the world. We really are. As we started to work with the military, we needed to learn to print it the way the military liked it. And we used to print everything on these kind of laminated cards. We found out that the military needed something that was lighter, smaller, stronger. And so we learned about this thing called synthetic paper. And I love doing this. It's impossible to tear. We had people, it's like really strong stuff. It's great for the military. And it still works after you do that. But I want to introduce somebody who has printed probably 900,000 of our quick points, sitting in the back there. David, Mecklenburg?
Yeah.
David has gone to amazing lengths, not only just to print these, but the military is a very demanding customer. When they want something, they want it tomorrow. And David has gone to great lengths to run the presses on weekends and evenings and do whatever it takes. That I don't think we've missed the ship date of 1 million of these, or maybe by a day or two, once or twice. But we've literally gotten to the field as fast as we can get out there. This is because this man, some people think he works at our office because he's here so much, making sure, picking up proofs, checking on things.
Get ready, there's a big one coming for you.
So I'd like to also give you one of our
Thank you
flows.
very much, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And QuickPoint is a wonderful company to do work with. I really appreciate doing work with QuickPoint, and I'd like to be in your office.
Okay, the next person I'd like to talk about is our ad hoc photographer sitting here in the back. And Dick is one of my dearest friends. He was the best man at my wedding. When we started working on Military Quick Point, Dick and I were often meeting for dinner, and I had to start drawing these pictures of, bombs and hand grenades and think about how to lay it out and how to configure it. And Dick has a background as a TV producer and had this uncanny eye for thinking through some of the more challenging things. It's one thing when you're doing travel and you're doing, cheeseburger and fries, and it's not that much to it. But as soon as you're doing like, minefield and IED and surrender scenarios and hostage communications, and all of a sudden the nature of what we were trying to do became a lot more complex and required a lot more thinking. And Dick had just this amazing, I would call it inborn talent to just look at things, and he'd say, you just put the arrow there and do that and make that darker, and he'd look at it and he'd be right, and it would just make it better. And it became, Dick and I started this ritual for probably close to 5 years. Every single Tuesday night we would have dinner, and I would show Dick the pictures I was working on. He would look at it, and we would do sketches and mark it up, and Dick did this purely, just as a friend, over dinner, and it was just something Dick did, and he was good at it, and it added this amazing value. But it doesn't end there. It turned out that Dick, being a movie person, also shot all these videos you saw today. And beyond that, the way we got a lot of these videos is we were at a trade show, a military trade show, and Dick, in his sheer brilliance said, I bet there's people walking around here who've used your product. And he just made up a little sign that said, how do you use QuickPoint? Tell us about it. Just like that, hung it right on the booth. And then he ran home and got his video camera. And then he convinced the trade show to give us a space to set up an ad hoc studio right on the floor of the trade show. And in total, just going with the moment, set up a little video production, and we made most of these videos right on a trade show floor. People just walking by that saw the sun and got this amazing testimonial. And in addition, Dick went out to Walter Reed and the old Corporal Collins. Beyond that, Dick has been one of the most, I could go on about Dick for a long time, but then it was his dessert company. But Dick came with me to a number of trade shows, and Dick has an amazing talent. I still haven't figured out how he does it. But he is able to get people to come and look at what we're doing in a way that's amazing. If you've ever been to a large military trade show, you get the high brass, the 2, 3, 4-star generals, and they walk through and they have their entourages and stuff like that. And they pick the select booths to stop at, probably like the Lockheeds and the Boeings, not necessarily the people that have a little table in the back corner. But Dick had this amazing talent, and I would go to Dick, that's a 3-star general who just passed by. And Dick would march right up to him, and I don't quite know how he did it. He told me one of the stories where he said, sir, I need 30 seconds of your attention. It is critical. So one general looked at his watch and said, you've got 30 seconds. And I don't know what Dick said to him, but Dick marched him and his entourage back to our booth, and they spent the next 10 minutes looking at us, talking at us, and he did that multiple times. And I've still have not had myself, I will not stop a 4-star general's entourage, walk right in front of him and say, sir, you need to stop and talk to me now. I don't know how he did, I don't think he did it like that. He has a much, but that is a talent, and Dick has also been one of my coaches in presentation and communication, and so at times seem a little pushy. No. But in any case, I just really want to thank Dick. He's been really a mentor, a coach, and just an amazing person in my life. We made up a little special award for Dick. And let me read what this says here. What you have on it is our corporate logo, which is 5 children circling the planet, all who have different skin colors but have purple hearts, indicating that on the inside we really are all the same. No matter what language we speak, we're all people. We all have the same heart, blood, and soul. And it says here, communication is the key to understanding. Richard Paley, in recognition of your contributions to QuickPoint for the past 5 years, through your creative brilliance, friendship, and support, you have made a significant impact on the QuickPoint team.
I mean, I knew Alan when he was operating out of a basement, and I knew Alan when this was just a beginning of an idea. And I've watched this come from the beginning of an idea to something that is saving lives. It's a tremendous thing to see. And as you said, he and I have spent hours and hours looking at pictures. And the concept of having a life and a career where you can do things that will save lives and influence people's ways of communicating, to me, is just an outstanding thing to say that you've done with your life. So it's truly been a privilege for me.
few shots of actual quick points being used in the field.
We had set up a traffic control point, and a man had come running up toward us from the back of the line, and he was just running at us yelling hospital. We used the quick point to ask him questions of why he needed a hospital. And using the quick point, he pointed to a picture.
Yeah, this shows you the advantage of low tech.
It's been a long time since he was a Mac trainer.
One more second. When in doubt, just pull it out, stick it back in. But a couple other things that I'll just mention while this is loading up. Beyond the fact that there's a million out there, this has really gotten some amazing research and information about it. MITRE, which many of you may know, is basically a think tank that does a lot of work for the military. They were commissioned by the Department of Defense to do a study of language, tools, and technology used in Operation Enduring Freedom and Operation Iraqi Freedom. We'll talk just as these photos go through. And literally, we were, according to a Department of Defense study done by MITRE, we were the most used tool for on-ground communications in Iraq and Afghanistan during the current conflicts. And that's a DoD study done by MITRE, the most comprehensive study that I know of done by the military. In addition to that, General Myers, who recently retired as the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, wrote a letter to QuickPoint just acknowledging us for what we did. Now, mind you, he probably writes lots of letters, but still, he took the time, or somebody on his staff, to give us a letter acknowledging what we've done. In addition, the United States Senate has something called the Armed Services Committee, Senator Warner's office, and the Armed Services Committee issued official Senate report language. That's what the Senate basically tells the Pentagon to do. Whether they listen is another story. And in this language, it said, we the United States Senate, urge the Pentagon to expand the use of this critical tool. That's the official dialogue of the Senate. So it's really pretty amazing how far this has reached into the various things we've done. That being said, I want to just thank a couple other people. First, sitting back on the left is my father-in-law, Bob Friedman. And Bob Friedman is probably one of the brightest and also most humble people I know. And so you may not like that I'm going to say things about him that kind of let people know. But first let me say that Bob has become the father I've never had, because some of you may know I was raised without a father. To this day, I don't know if my father's dead or alive. That's when I was very young. But Bob has been an amazing mentor. He has spent time looking at business strategies, financial strategies. He has also he's president of something called FPRI, Foreign Policy Research Institute, and that is, tell me if I'm wrong, the second or third most influential foreign policy think tank in the United States, probably one of the top handful in the world, and he's the president of it. And because of that, Bob meets all sorts of interesting people. I think 2 weeks ago he had dinner with Henry Kissinger. He's at dinner with Alexander Haig. Every time I call him, he's having dinner with, wow. And wherever he goes, he brings quick points with him. I'm waiting to see Henry on a plane ordering food with a quick point. In addition to that, some of you may know that a few weeks ago, the Red Cross had a major article about some changes and things going on there. And we got some high-level meetings with the Red Cross. Well, Bob, taking a taxi about 5 days ago, is sharing a taxi with the CEO, or just resigned CEO of the entire American Red Cross. And of course, Bob happens to have a Red Cross and hands it to Marcia Evans, the CEO of the Red Cross, and tells her about it. And she says, how many of these did we get? And Bob says, I think you got 10,000. She says, we need more. And based on that, we're now using that and a couple other things to soon hopefully set up a meeting with the current CEO of the American Red Cross. have them consider getting 1.2 million copies for the entire American Red Cross volunteer staff. So again, Bob's Bob's contribution is not, about, he takes QuickPoint wherever he goes. Literally, he's always calling me up, Alan, I need 20 more, can you ship? I need this title and that title, I have this conference and this meeting. I feel like he's like a distributor or something. And then he comes back and says, I showed it to, this assistant secretary and this general and this, and who knows, these seeds are planted and we just, I know good things are coming from it. But beyond that, I just want to give Bob another one of these globes also. Bob, among other things, has also been my new tennis teacher and fashion coach.
Alan speaks so, I'm an attorney, most of you know, and Alan speaks so well. I said to him earlier, I said, Alan, you could have been an attorney. Look at the smart decision you actually did make.
Do we have one more globe? This last globe is for my mother-in-law, Diane Friedman. And Diane has been just my biggest cheerleader. Well, between her and Bob, it's a close call. But and my wife, between the three of them. But Diane has just been available to help me deal with, there's now 14, 15 people part of QuickPoint. I've never been a manager before. And there's a lot of things that come up. And Diane, with her master's in counseling and being a career counselor and just being a brilliant woman, has been available just to help me on so many different issues. I regularly call her up and say, Diane, do you have a minute? She goes, for you, my son-in-law? I always have a minute. And she just always goes on and has incredible heartfelt wisdom, insight, compassion. She's just one of the wisest, most heartfelt people I've ever met in my life, and I feel just privileged that she's my mother-in-law, and more so has time and interest to hear my little woes about, being dealing with everything I deal with. And so, Diane, I have a separate globe for you.
I just want to say, with the little voice I have, that it's just, Alan's been a wonderful addition to our family, and I'm just thrilled to be part of this huge QuickPoint family with him, and looking forward to the future wonderful things to happen. Thank you.
There's one more person that I particularly want to share a little bit about, and that is General Granrud, Jerry Granrud, who is a retired 3-star general. And first, it's a little bit of an interesting story how I got to meet Jerry. About 9 years ago, I was at a friend's wedding, and there was a retired, at the time, an active admiral there. We talked for probably a good 2 to 3 minutes. And in that 2 to 3 minutes, I learned that he did something with language technology. And of course, I showed him a QuickPoint and chatted a little bit. And that was that. And so 6 years pass. But I remember how often you get to talk to an admiral, and we're starting to do military stuff. So I call up my friend and said, hey, remember at your wedding there was an admiral? She's like, yeah, it was a friend of my husband's, date's, spouse's cousin or something like that. And it was like, you think you could find him? Well, my husband's friend hasn't talked to him in 3 years. Well, think you could ask your husband's friend to call him? So many phone calls and many nudges to my friend later, I actually get this admiral's number. And I call him up, and to my surprise, he doesn't remember me. He was on for about 2 minutes. But when I mentioned the things he did with language technology in Bosnia and Croatia, he's like, well, I guess you must have talked to me because you know what I did. Or you did an internet search on me or something. But he agreed to have lunch with me, and we had lunch, and he was pretty inactive at that point. He was a medical doctor also. And he said, well, I don't think I can really help you much, but you are doing something that seems pretty useful. I do have this friend in Springfield. He's a retired 3-star general, Jerry Granrud, and here's his number. Tell him I called. Maybe you can have lunch with him. Who knows? And so I called Jerry, kind of out of the blue, and mentioned, Admiral, is it, what's his name? Admiral Noel?
No.
Yeah, Noel.
No.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ryan.
Admiral Knowles. And Jerry agrees to Yes, that's right. And I decided, I said to my wife, Liz, where do you think I should take Jerry out? And how about Ruby Tuesdays? And Liz says to me, Ruby Tuesdays? I go, well, and I mentioned Jerry, and Jerry goes, I love Ruby Tuesdays. And so to this day, Jerry and I have had, I don't know how many meals at Ruby Tuesdays, and my wife still gets this kick out of it. We're taking him to Ruby Tuesdays, so I apologize, and now we're having a much nicer lunch. But in any case, I sit down with Jerry, and I show him what I'm doing, and Jerry quickly looks at me and goes, you've got a damn good idea here, and this could be really useful to the troops. He just got it in a second. This was useful. He also went on to say to me, but boy, trying to make money selling to the U.S. military is like a snowball's chance in hell. He said, take some advice. Stick to the travel industry. But being the kind of tenacious person I am, I'm like, well, the travel industry just collapsed on me. And could you give me a little coaching about this military? So Jerry's like, sure, it's a great idea. It'll help the soldiers, but they'll probably want to pay you 25 cents, and they'll probably spend years before they, really pay any attention to you. Well, that being said, Jerry went ahead and started getting more and more interested and involved in what this could do, and started coming with me to meetings and making phone calls. And at one point I said, wow, I probably should pay this guy something. He's really helping me a lot. And so on numerous occasions I said, Jerry, would you like to be a consultant for me? And Jerry would look me in the eye and said, no, Alan, I believe in what you're doing. This helps our troops. And no, I just want to do this. I just want to do this. And I was just amazed. And Jerry and I would go to meetings, and this is a man who's come with me. We've driven halfway across the state. We've driven to Carlisle Barracks. We've gone to trade shows. We've gone into the Pentagon. We've gone to thing after thing. And Jerry always introduces himself and says, I want you to know that I do not work for QuickPoint. I do this completely pro bono because I believe this is in the best interest of the American soldier. And I can tell you, they kind of roll their eyes, because I don't think that many three-star generals drive halfway across the state when they could be, doing other things that are probably a little more lucrative than, doing that. So it's just amazed me, and the lengths Jerry has gone just because he believes in what this is, and literally the impact it has when Jerry's gone into meetings, and we could go on quite a few stories about some of those meetings, but I tell you, Jerry is a very clear, direct communicator at meetings. Very clear, direct communicator. I also want to add that Jerry has done many things. One of the ones that really jumps out is, as you know, you'll see there's a bunch of QuickPoint on here that have the logo PEO on it. It stands for Program Executive Office. And that's the standard issue system. It's a simplification, but that's how a product becomes standard issue for the U.S. military. And working closely with Jerry, we got on the list of what's called standard issue for the U.S. military. And just before it was about to go into final contracting, somebody in the bureaucracy made a decision that this didn't qualify as a standard issue product, because they said standard issue products are supposed to be theater independent, which means it will work any place in the world. And somebody said this doesn't qualify, and they removed us from the list because of this technicality. Well, when I told that to Jerry, he got on the phone, and I still don't know all the terminology, but I think he called it was the G2 or the G3, I just said gee whiz. He called G8. He called the G8, and some general called another general and called a colonel, and bang, bang, bang. An hour later, it was back on that list, and we were back on standard issue. So it was like, wow, that was the real turning point. Once we became standard issue, it just started a whole nother level of credibility to be considered to make it on this list. That being said, I have a plaque for Jerry, but before I give that, my friend Dave Barber told me, who's ex-military himself, that's a little bit of a tradition when you give somebody a plaque in the military, you tell a little bit of a anecdotal, humorous story about him. So roast him. Roast him, that's it. So I'm trusting Dave that this is part of it. As you know, I rode a bike around the world, and I traveled in all these places with maps in Arabic, Turkish, and Romanian, and was constantly getting lost. And I couldn't read the maps, couldn't read the roads, so I got used to asking for directions 20 times a day. I mean, I would just pedal into towns with these maps and constantly get directions. And how they say, real men don't ask for directions, they just find it. Well, I think with generals, that rules even multiplied a little more. Generals know where they're going. They do not ask for directions. Well, Jerry and I were going down to Fort Eustis, which is, what, a good 3-4 hours away. We had a very important meeting with the whole organization. There were 8 or 10 people coming together for this very important briefing for our company. And this base is huge. It must have hundreds of buildings, just hundreds. It goes on for miles. And we were going to like building 702B. And we didn't have a map of the base, and we're on the base, we've got 30 or 40 minutes to find it. And Jerry's like, I've been on this base before some years ago, and I'm going to find 702B. And I'm like getting nervous saying, why don't we just roll down the window and ask somebody for directions? And all these people, I'm sure they're privates and corporals wandering around and stuff. And Jerry's like, no, we're going to find it. Don't need to ask for directions. We're driving around, and I'm getting a little more nervous. And I go, look, Jerry, there's a woman, there's a child, let's ask directions. And he starts to roll down the window. Jerry's like, roll that window right back up. And we went back and forth. And finally, by God, we got to that meeting exactly on time. Jerry got us to 702B. And we walked in, and it was a great meeting. We went right, and my blood pressure was a little high. But in any case,
Still on the edge.
So with that note, we made this special plaque, and I'd like to thank Stephanie, who designed everything you're seeing today. I'll read this. Lieutenant General Jerry Granwood, U.S. Army retired. In recognition of your outstanding leadership and selfless efforts on behalf of our troops, you have helped transform the United States military by solving communication challenges. Thank you for being part of our history in the making. And these are all the PEO Quick Point and Boston Medal.
I got lots of plaques. I think I've been given, as a matter of fact, I sold some of them, I think. But when Alan called me, he didn't realize that he had plowed some fertile ground, because language is something that I have always been interested in. And I've served overseas in combat organizations in many places where language was always an issue. And I happened to be a language major out of college. So when I looked at it, and when I looked at Quick Point, to begin with, it was obvious, perfectly obvious from that background, that we had something here that soldiers could use. I mean, it was something that really would make a difference. And for that reason, I was very happy to be able to provide some assistance and support to Alan, because small companies have always been something that I'm interested in. And this one would yield results that would make a difference. And if you're going to do something in life, you might as well do something that makes a difference. You know, I joke that if you go over to Boeing or something, they have a room in back where they have a shredding machine. And we send money over there and they shred it. In large numbers. And here we have a small company with 4 or 5 people, with very small limited resources, doing something that's probably as important as anybody else in the whole business. And so one ought to be happy to be able to support that sort of thing. I have a lot of support myself, by the way. The cookie back there looks at everything. She looks at all the writings. The kids, of course, they carry their stuff around. They throw this Quick Point around the place. One funny story about Cookie, though, is that we had an incident where the Marine Corps decided that they would save themselves the money, and they substituted photographs for the Quick Point icons, which of course was about the dumbest idea you could come up with. Nonetheless, they did it. And so I showed it to Cookie, and she said, boy, she said, I'd sure like to see their photograph of a guy with diarrhea. And I used that in quite a number of places thereafter. But being associated with Quick Point and watching it grow and produce value for the Army and for the Marine Corps and everybody else working has been a great source of pleasure for me. And I'm happy to be associated with this fine group of people. And I think it's going to go on to be, continue to do great things, and my best wishes for all of you.
And finally, there's one last award. You say the same last for best. And the person that has probably spent more time just listening to everything I've gone through and just being available and just being the ear, even if often she has no idea what I'm talking about when I mention the alphabet soup of the GTPD board and the IBC board and the ABC board are meeting over this and blah, 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 and they don't want to do this and blah, blah, blah. I'd like to have present this special award to my wife, Elizabeth Stillman. And what we have here is a glass crystal, the crystal clarity that Elizabeth brings to me, with a picture of an ear on it. It says, Elizabeth Ann Stillman, your loving patience and steadfast endurance to listen is appreciated beyond measure. Love, Alan.
Thank you. Unexpected.
Just to finish up with the theme of synchronicity, Dave Barber, our new COO, we're so happy to have as part of the team, is here with his family today with Melissa, Claire, and Meredith. And I really knew when we hit it big, when Meredith went to school one day, and they had various people coming in talking about what they did for a living, like kind of a show and tell kind of thing. And a soldier came in one day, and he was talking about what it's like in Iraq. And he's going on and on. And then he, by the way, so I guess maybe a child asked or something, you know, how do you communicate? But for one reason or another, he pulls out a quick point in her second grade class. And Meredith, if I may quote you, is that okay, my dear? She said, "Oh my word, that's what my daddy does." She tells it better than I do. So I knew we made it big when we made it to Meredith's second grade class. So finally, just to come talk a little bit about moving into 2006. What I predict, if I may, is that QuickPoint is going to start to talk in 2006, at the end of this year. That the number one piece of information we've gotten back is that this product is great for communicating with the pictures and when people read, but when we try to pronounce the things on there, it's just, we all just butcher it. You know, Alibaba. You know, you can do the best phonetics in the world. We're very lucky to have Larry Golfer, our product developer, who also has a master's in the French linguistics. And he's worked hard to look at our phonetics and has convinced me there's just no perfect way to take, was it phonemes, is that the term?
No, that's syllables.
The syllables, and can translate them into Western letters perfectly. So the better solution would be if the device just said it perfectly in perfect Arabic, Pashto or Dari. And we have now been able to, again, a little bit on the synchronistic end, the CEO of the second largest manufacturer of electronic translation devices in the world asked Dave and I to come up to his offices a few weeks ago and basically said, you know, I can make anything. I can make products that can speak, that can have graphics, that can have pictures, that can have anything. And I want to work with you guys, and I want to take your products and put a voice to your products. And we're now in the early stages of developing a strategic partnership. And this man basically said, Dave and I first looked at each other like, why doesn't this guy just, you know, have he has a division in Hong Kong, a division in Russia, a division in Europe, why doesn't he just make pictures himself? What does he need us for? And we sort of asked him that, and he said, wherever I go in the world, I see QuickPoint. I go into obscure military conferences, and there's QuickPoint. Your ability to penetrate the world marketplace is what I want. I'm going to make the products because I know you're going to get them out to the people. You're going to get them out, and that's why I want to work with you. And he basically said, if you can come up with it, I can build it. He can build. This is a brilliant electrical engineer who has 200 software engineers working for him, manufacturing capacity in Hong Kong, a true global entrepreneur who is very interested in helping us to bring us into the electronic world. And then there's one more piece of it. So the key to a really good product, those of you who've seen like the iPod You know, there was MP3 players around for many years before the iPod. But why is it that the iPod is endemic? Well, it's because of the design. Apple is known for their amazing user interface design. And again, synchronicity, Bob Friedman has this good friend who happens to be a patent attorney and, I believe, an electrical engineer, and he specialized in doing user interface consulting for Apple Corporation. And this man made pretty much a small fortune doing some business things some years ago and is now retired and just does what he believes in and finds interesting. And lo and behold, he thinks what we're doing is pretty interesting. And so he wants to become basically our intellectual property design strategic partner, to use the same kind of level of design that Apple uses in their products, to combine his design capacity with our production capacity of our friend who will become an original equipment manufacturer for us. And you put that together with the team of people we have here, the credibility we already have in the U.S. military, and like I said, by this time next year, we should have talking quick points in all sorts of forms and shapes that are still being formulated and created, but the pieces are coming into play, the stars are aligning. So, that being said, I just want to again just thank you, everyone in this room, for the different roles you played and for being here. This really is an amazing opportunity to do a service to the world and helping the world communicate some very important information. And it's a real service you all bring to this organization, because it really takes an amazing team, both inside and outside this organization, to put together what QuickPoint has become. So thank you for